Hey guys, I know it's been a while since I've done a YouTube video, but I figured today would be a good day to shoot another one. Um, so I've been thinking about a particular topic for a while. I've been thinking about the topic of worry in the Christian life, and particularly about Matthew chapter 6. And something, there's something that I've realized recently. We can worry about a lot and just waste a lot of time and energy. C.S. Lewis talked about this. He said that you might be imagining 10 futures that are mutually exclusive, and you'll be spending all of your energy worried about those 10 futures when God has given you enough energy for the thing that is actually going to happen. Now, I don't want to get too lost in the theological weeds with this because there's some Christians who will try to say, well, God won't give you more than you can handle, but that's not necessarily biblical. What's biblical is that we might get more than we can handle, but we can lean into God's strength. So, but that's a whole topic by itself that somebody could probably do a sermon on. But focused more on bringing this back around to the main topic. I could worry. I'm about to take a plane trip soon. Now, I am not somebody who gets afraid to fly on an airplane. That's actually something I get excited for. But let's say that I were worried about flying on an airplane. Let's say that I worried that I'm going to go up in the airplane and be 30,000 feet in the air, and the airplane's going to get hit by a meteorite. So, is that possible? Could the airplane get hit by a meteorite? Yeah, it's possible, but it's exceedingly unlikely. So I could sit there spending all of my energy worried about, is the airplane going to get hit by a meteorite? But all of that worry is going to have zero impact on whether the meteorite and the airplane end up existing in the same space at the same time. Like, it's not going to affect the outcome one way or the other. Now, if I am very worried about that, I can pray about it. And that might be a good use of the energy. However, and that would be a good thing. But after praying, I should then set my imagination on focusing on things that are a little more productive. In my case, I might say, okay, what kind of project can I do next? Oh, what kind of video could I write? What kind of fiction story could I write? What could I do next in one of my current works in progress for my fiction stories? Or if I'm doing, a research project at a university, I could say, hey, what could I do next for my research project? And I could set my thoughts on something that's more productive than a spinning cycle of what if an airplane gets hit by a meteorite. You never know in life what's going to be over the next wave. So I picture Paralandra by C.S. Lewis. It's a sci-fi book, or not really sci-fi, it's more fantasy set in space, but Paralandra was written by C.S. Lewis, and it took place on a tropical version of planet Venus. So it's not Venus as we know it, it's a fictional version of planet Venus. And on this fictional version of planet Venus, the people who are there, they live on these islands that float around in the ocean. So these islands are made out of basically tree roots and vegetation that's all interconnected. And these interconnected tree roots, they might break apart with the waves and then reform, break apart and form. So the people there have no way to store food, no way to store belongings, and they just kind of have to trust God for the next day. And I don't want to be too fatalistic with this, because I think that people sometimes think that life is just something that happens to them. You know, it's the problem with the Cinderella story. People just kind of wait for their fairy godmother to come along. But there's a lot of usefulness in this. You never know what's going to happen over that next wave. You never know what the next day is going to bring. You never know really what the next minute or the next hour is going to bring. You know, it's unlikely that I'll be hit by a meteorite in the next 5 minutes. But, how you doing? But, I don't know for sure. And would it do me any good to worry about it? No, it wouldn't. So, I think there's a lot that could be said about worry, and a lot that would be beyond the scope of this video. But I think if you're worried about something, and it's something that, you know, might be legitimate. You might be worried about, will that girl turn me down when I ask her out for prom? And it's a very strong possibility that that's what's going to happen. You could fill your head with worry about, will I be single for the rest of my life? Or you could say, hey, I have two possibilities. She could say yes, she could say no. And both should be addressed rationally in my mind before I ask her out. And that's, you know, if you're a young man who's going to the prom, that is, you know, something to consider. Now, some people will just worry that she'll say no and they won't ask her out at all. And then they have to sit on the sidelines as she dances with somebody else. And that's not good. You know, that's not good. It's like you could have at least taken your chances instead of looking back and wondering what if. So I think that the bottom line is that there's going to be things you're going to worry about in life, but you have to set your thoughts in a productive way. You have to say, hey, you know, if that airplane gets hit by that meteorite, I'm going to go, if I'm a Christian, if Christ has saved me, I'm going to go home and be with the Lord. Now, if you're calling yourself a Christian, if you say, I identify as a Christian, and saying, oh, well, I go to church, I'm a good person, that's not going to do you any good. But that's, you know, if you're not genuinely born again, it's not going to do you any good. But I know for my sake, I know that God has saved me. So if that airplane got hit by the meteorite, I would go home to be with the Lord. And going forward in life, since the airplane's probably not going to get hit by that meteorite, I'm probably going to land at my destination and be just fine. Going forward in life, assuming I live to a ripe old age, I'm going to face difficult times in my life. There's going to be a time when my mom passes away. There's going to be a time when my dad passes away. And I don't know when that's going to be. That could be today, could be tomorrow. Hopefully, you know, it's many decades in the future. As my dad told me recently, he says he wants to dance with my daughter at her wedding. So I could worry about the future. I could worry about tomorrow. I could worry about what tomorrow is going to bring. But at the end of the day, that's in the Lord's hands. Now, the Bible does say that you'll reap what you sow. So there's kind of two parts to the future. Um, we have to, in one sense, trust God's sovereignty in the good things and in the bad things. On the other side, though, we have to put in the work to be the sort of people we want to be and have the sort of future that we want to have. So, like I said, there's a lot more that could be said about this. This is probably something that somebody could make a 20-hour sermon series on and still not cover everything. But I think that what we have to remember as Christians is that Jesus said in the Bible that God takes care of the birds, takes care of the grass. And if God loves us, God loves the birds and the grass, and he takes care of them, how much more will he take care of us? And I could say there's a lot about that passage that I find confusing, but Jesus does say that if you seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, then all of these things will be added to you. So I might go through tough times, I might go through difficult times, but when I look back on my life, when I look backwards, I look at getting through college, I look at times where I've been looking for work, I look at when I got my driver's license, I look at even when I was in high school and was struggling to get through my classes. God still held me in his hands, and he still carried me. And there were a lot of times where these very unlikely events just came together so that I could keep moving forward and doing what I had to do to serve the Lord. There were times in college where I had no idea how the bills were going to get paid, and then I got an unexpected check in the mail. There were times where during my last semester of college, I was having financial difficulties and ended up having it where the university paid, not only so that my last semester's tuition would be covered, but they also paid so that I could stay at an apartment that was right on campus. So we could spend time imagining the difficult possibilities of the future. We can imagine, oh, what if my friends won't like me anymore? Or what if... So we could imagine, what if my friends don't like me anymore? Or what if I get cancer? Or what if this bad thing or that bad thing happens? Or we can picture a positive future. That's something I like about Star Trek, is as a franchise, it's historically imagined a bright future for humanity. And it's also helped me to say, hey, I could have a bright future for myself. Probably won't be on a starship flying around, seeing the stars, but I could have a bright future for myself. I can have a future where I'm surrounded by friends and family who love me. I can have a future where I have a wife and kids and 3 dogs. I can have a bright future, and I probably will. And God forbid I were to get pancreatic cancer next month. I had a friend whose mother died of pancreatic cancer while I was in college. And so I think about that fairly often, but I don't worry about that happening to me. But if that did happen, I would go home to be with the Lord, and then one day I'd be resurrected again. And I would have more of a life than what I could have had in this part of my lifetime. Because as a Christian, at the end of the day, you don't ever really truly die. Our bodies die, and we might be asleep in the Lord. So our body might be on this earth and we go home to be with the Lord. but later on the body itself will be resurrected. So as a Christian, you know, our lives will go on. In a million years, assuming the Lord comes back before then, we're all going to be alive. We're going to be alive with our spirits, and we're going to be alive with our physical bodies. So focus on good things for the future. And I want to see, I keep almost closing this video out, but then I keep having one more thing to say. So I'm rereading this book called The Confident Mind. I don't remember the name of the author, but he's a West Point instructor. So it's called The Confident Mind. And one thing he said was the physiology of worry and the physiology of excitement, they're actually the same. The only difference is people picturing a positive future versus picturing a negative future. So choose to picture a positive future. Address the fact and acknowledge the fact that tough times can happen and they will happen. And address, hey, the fact that you're going to get through that. But don't dwell on it. Don't let the negative possibilities of the future be the thing that controls you. And don't let the negative things about the past be the thing that control you. Focus on your accomplishments. Focus on good things you've done. And focus on things you've accomplished. And say, hey, I got this. And when you don't feel confident, say, I have the part that God has given to me. And God's got the rest. So, more I could say about that, but I think this is sufficient for one video, especially since my time is running out on my memory for my phone. So, until next time, this is Greg, out.